Joining me in the studio right now is Kevin Richards. He is the owner and operator of Ventura Web Design. By way of disclosure, they, of course, designed my page, alanstock.com. But Kevin's in here with our tech news, and good to have you here.
Hey, great to be back with you, Mr. Alan Stock. How are you today?
I am doing just great. I know you put some stuff on my fan page on Facebook, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's get right into it. Google is, they want to use truth to rank search results.
Yes.
What is that about? Yeah, right. Q's going, what? What?
So, let's talk about the history of Google for just a second to kind of set the table here. Google has created a great way to index the world's information. And they've done that over, 10 plus years. And the current algorithm, which is the programmatic way of turning words into usable numbers and usable, programmatic ways to understand what somebody's searching for. They have over 200 different ways to rank the search engine results page. And those 200 things are actually called signals. So each web page is sending signals to Google. Google actually goes out and crawls all these web pages and indexes them, has, as much of the web as they can possibly contain on their servers so that they can search in milliseconds and deliver to you what they hope is the answer to your question. So now what they're trying to do is make those results better. 15 years ago, if you wanted to rank really well, say for the keyword phrase Alan Stock, all we had to do was do a technique called keyword stuffing. And we would just write that phrase over and over and over again on the page. And that would cause us to be at the top of the search results. Google figured that out as they figure everything out, and they said, well, that's not going to work. So that's where all these 200 different signals came from. They're trying to deliver good quality results. So the latest push in that is they want to use trust. And the way they're defining trust is by the website having accurate information. And accurate information, that's where this is an interesting conversation, because is Google going to be the one determining that these facts are true? And if so, how are they going to do that?
Well, same thing like the debate we had over Obamacare. I mean, what was right, what was wrong? I mean, how, or any political issue, how do you know? So they're going to make the determination about what's right and what's wrong. Well,
right. What's happening now is they're going to be using knowledge-based trust, and they're going to basically start ranking web pages based upon that as another signal. So if they feel that your website has facts that are not, if you're putting out information on your website, Google considers that you're publishing that as a fact. And then it's going to test that fact against its own database, the knowledge graph, or the knowledge vault, they refer to it as. And if your website has a lot of inaccurate information, then they're going to say that your website's not trustworthy.
So let me ask you, my concern, can Google manually manipulate results?
Yes, absolutely. They absolutely can. That's one of the things that isn't really talked about a lot. And you can absolutely do that. I mean, well, yeah. Here's the thing. They don't talk about the fact that they employ, I don't know the number, but quite a few people who do manual reviews of websites. And when the algorithm says, hey, take a look at this website as a human and tell us what you think, they go in and they look at it. They have a guide that was accidentally published once, and it shows how the humans are supposed to evaluate the website also. So then the humans can actually put in what's called a manual penalty. And that happens all the time. If somebody from Google goes to your website and they're looking at how you've put together your website, and they determine that you're trying to game the system, you're trying to come up, basically do the equivalent of keyword stuffing, they're going to institute a manual penalty. And they'll actually signal that to you through their Google Webmaster Tools. It's kind of cool. If you have an agency like us that will help you do that, we can see, oh, hey, look, the content that you put out there is not, Google is not okay with it. So we need to fix that.
What do they say?
They just send a notification through the Google Webmaster Tools that we have access to, and then we try to go in there and say, okay, what content on this website is Google finding to be offensive? And typically we can see it really easily. If a store owner or a website owner has gone in there and has just if they created a website that is made for the bot basically and not made for humans, that's the easiest way to tell the difference.
All right, you can determine that. I can't determine that. I don't know.
You would actually. I mean, in certain cases, you can figure it out yourself. In other cases, you have to read the code to understand it. But if a website reads, like a normal human being has written it, it's that is something that would pass. So the neat thing about this story,
See,
really,
to me, it's all ones and zeros. So
right. So it's very interesting. Who is going to be the one? In the past, they used something called PageRank, and PageRank was designed to use the number of inbound links as a way to determine authority. And it was actually named for one of the co-founders of Google, Larry Page. And so what they're finding now is that everybody is kind of manipulating that. And as you know, remember when we searched for White House back in the days of George W. Bush, actually, let me rephrase that. When we searched for miserable failure, it returned the White House as a result when George W. Bush was in there. But shockingly enough, as soon as Barack Obama was in there, that was gone. So that's Google bombing and Google link bombing, basically. So people will go out there and put a bunch of links out, and that'll manipulate the Google search results.
all right. So if you Google bad president or something like that,
Right.
it's actually going to come up with Obama right now. And then
Now, what's funny is Google could have definitely, when we were talking, I came in, years ago, and we were talking about that Google bombing. Same thing with Santorum. Google could definitely change that if they wanted to. They chose not to. They say, "Oh no, we're not going to manipulate results. We're going to let the algorithm do its thing, and we're going to try to change."
So now they're doing it though.
Well, I mean, they've always done it.
Oh boy. Okay. Let's talk more about that net neutrality thing too. I'm still confused about that.
Well, have you gotten a copy of that text yet? The 300 pages of that, they haven't released that yet, have they?
No, but I was supposed to find out what was in it after they passed it. But
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
It hasn't happened yet.
Maybe I got to figure out this Google thing.
Kevin Richards with our Tech News joining me in studio right now. Good to have you here. Any Apple news?
Tons of Apple news. They have a Spring Forward event coming up on Monday, March 9th. And they're going to be definitely talking about that Apple Watch. And they might be talking about a couple other things. The rumor is that they might be releasing a 12-inch Retina MacBook Air. And as you know, the MacBook Air is their very lightweight laptop, and it's lighter than the MacBook Pro. And so the interesting news there is that it's a 12-inch Retina. So that the Retina is a very high-quality screen.
Very high quality. And when do they plan to do that?
It's going to be on Monday, March 9th at their Spring Forward event.
By the way, speaking of Spring Forward, remind everyone that this coming weekend, we turn the clocks ahead 1 hour. So when you go to bed Saturday night, you may want to have done that already. So when you wake up Sunday morning, you're on the correct time. So again, Spring Forward this Saturday night going into Sunday morning. It's actually technically Sunday morning, 2 o'clock, but let's call it Saturday night. All right.
Yep, absolutely. One more quick Apple thing. We always talk about Apple being more secure than PC. Apple and Google are right in the same boat right now with back in the early 90s, or actually before the 90s, there was a requirement that you couldn't encrypt your software. If it was going to be exported outside of the United States, you had to use the weaker standards. You couldn't do 128-bit. You had to do 512 or whatever it was. So the recent research shows that people are still using that lesser encryption, and that is actually causing some problems on both Apple and PC. So both Apple and Google are working to resolve that with patches and fixes.
All right, let's talk about Hillary's email. She's been using email on her own server. First of all, is that secure?
Well, it's as secure as you can possibly make it, but why would you want to use your own server when you've got the United States government willing to give you a free server that is as secure as it can possibly be?
Good question. I mean, why would one do that then?
So you can be in absolute control of your own email rather than have somebody else be in control of your email.
Wait, so Hillary's a control freak?
Maybe. You said it, not me. She put out a tweet today, and she said that she wants the Department of State to release all of the emails that she has written. And it was very carefully worded. And if you pay attention to that, what she's actually doing is she's asking the Department of State to release the emails that the Department of State received from her, not all of the emails. See, she could very easily go back to her email servers and release everything. Right?
So she doesn't want everything released, only those few things that she wants released.
Well, she's saying she's putting the burden back on the Department of State, and she's saying you search through those hundreds of thousands, if not millions of emails, and you find the ones that I wrote, and you release those. But if you flip that argument and say, well, Hillary, why don't you just release what's on your own email server? You have control of 100% of those emails. Why don't you release those?
Let me just try to understand this quickly, because I thought you could go ahead and search for anything that she wrote just in the search column up there, little line, and then you could get all those 1, 2, 3. So they could do that easily, couldn't they?
Well, you can, yeah, absolutely. But those are only the ones that were received by the Department of State. I think maybe that's the thing your listeners might be missing.
Oh,
she's saying, go, Department of State, please release all those emails that I wrote to the Department of State. See the difference?
Okay.
So whoever she wrote emails to outside of the Department of State, that's not going to be picked up on. If she truly wanted to release all of her emails, she's in control of all of her emails. So the email server, what I found was interesting, it was actually at her house in New York, which of course was being protected by the Secret Service, but that's a physical protection, and that's not a protection from hackers. And all of this information was actually found by a Romanian hacker named Guccifer. Guccifer, and that's his moniker, and it's the combination of the word Gucci and the word Lucifer. And what he says is it's the style of Gucci and the light of Lucifer. So he's been actually arrested, not as a result of figuring this Hillary Clinton email thing out, but he was previously arrested for other hacking. So we actually know who he is and all that good stuff. But it's just very interesting to see what politicians do. And Sarah Palin in the past, she used Yahoo Mail, and the security questions on Yahoo Mail back in the day, not that far back anyway, were very easy. What high school did you go to? What's your pet's name? What's your favorite sports team? Really easy to do a reset password. That's one of the ways that hackers get in. They go in, they have to first figure out what your username is, which on Yahoo Mail is typically pretty easy. It's usually, your username at yahoo.com. So you've got one piece of the pie right there. Then you go in and you do a reset password, and then it asks you some security questions. So if you're a public official and you've made a lot of statements and you've shared a lot of information about yourself, such as on Facebook, it's very easy for somebody to go through, and if you've used simple questions, they can figure those out too.
All right, real quick. Tell me about, we've got about a minute or two left. Google Street View. Something's going on with that, right?
Yes, something's going on with that. Google is, I don't know if anybody's played with Google Street View, but it is really cool. You go there and you can put in a lot of destinations. The Las Vegas Strip is one, and it's like you're driving down the Strip. You can see everything from a 360-degree view. I don't know if you've seen those little Google cars driving around town. They have the big cameras up on top. And so what they've done now is they took those cameras and they went down to the jungles of the Amazon jungle, and they put those cameras on a zip line. And so the zip line zips through the jungle at about 62 miles an hour, and it's capturing hundreds of thousands of images. They stitch those together, make 360 views, and now you can visit the Amazon jungle without ever leaving the comfort of your living room.
I like the idea of going onto the Strip and just checking that out.
It's cool. So a little gift for your visitors or your listeners. Go to allenstock.com, and the very top link right there is a link to your Allen Stock Facebook page. It's facebook.com/AllenStockRadio. And you go there, that'll give you a link over, and you can see the zipline tour of the Amazon jungle yourself.
Excellent. I encourage everyone to do it, to check it out, and go to my page right now.
And while you're there, like it. Like that Allen Stock fan page.
All right. Also, if you're in the mood and you didn't get to talk about what you wanted, or we didn't like what was said maybe, go to allenstock.com, and there is right at the very top the last word. And you can have the last word by clicking onto that and just let me know what it is was on your mind.
Yeah, a lot of people are doing that. You're getting a lot of good feedback.
I know. It's been very, very cool. And they're going, well, why didn't you say this? And how come you said that? Okay, well, anyway, last word at allenstock.com. Check it out. If you want to find more out about Ventura Web Design, again, the folks who designed my page, allenstock.com, go to allenstock.com. On the right-hand side of the page, you'll see the Ventura Web Design logo, and you can click onto that, and that will put you in touch directly with Kevin Richards and all the good folks at Ventura Web Design. How cool is that? All right. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. It's always good having you here. Always great information. People always go, God, I love that segment, and it's always a lot of fun.
Well, thanks for having me, as always.
Kevin Richards joining us with our tech news of the week right here at News Talk 720 KDWN. KDWN.